Genesis chapter 12. Now the Lord said to Abram, so Abram is the shortened name of Abraham. It's the same guy with a shortened name. The Lord said to Abram, go, circle go. If you got a pen, circle go. Go from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you. Underline verse 2. And I will make of you a great nation, and I will bless you, circle bless. I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. Underline verse 3. I will bless those who bless you, and him who dishonors you, I will curse. And in you, all the families, circle all the families of the earth shall be blessed. Circle the first three words of verse 4. So Abram went. So Abram went, as the Lord had told him. And Lot, his nephew, went with him. Abram was 75 years old when he departed from Haran. And Abram took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his brother's son, his nephew, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the people that they had acquired in Haran, and they set out to go to the land of Canaan, circle land of Canaan. When they came to the land of Canaan, Abram passed through the land to the place at Shechem, to the oak of Moreh. At that time, the Canaanites were in the land. Then the Lord appeared to Abram and said, underline this sentence, to your offspring I will give this land. You know what I just described to you? I just described to you why there's no peace in the Middle East. Literally, Genesis 12:7 is the reason there is no peace in the Middle East. That one verse is the Jews claim that as their homeland. The Palestinians who've lived there for a certain amount of time claim that as their homeland. And so there will never be peace there until somebody brokers peace. So the reason that we have continual wars and fighting at Gaza Strip and all those things is literally because of the verse I just read to you. Because people claim that as their own land. Literally, there's no other slab of land in the world that God has given to a people group except the Jews. That's why they're there. That's why there's fighting. And that's why there will continue to be fighting. Verse 7, to your offspring I will give this land. So he built an altar to the Lord there who had appeared to him. From there he moved to the hill country to the east of Bethel and pitched his tent with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east. And there he built an altar to the Lord and called upon the name of the Lord. And Abram journeyed on, still going toward the Negev, which is south. Now there was a famine in the land, circle famine. So Abram went down to Egypt, circle Egypt, to sojourn there, for the famine was severe in the land. And when he was about to enter Egypt, he said to his Sarai, his wife, circle wife, you ready? Everybody ready for some family dysfunction? You are getting super depressed that like my marriage is just dysfunctional and a mess. Like no marriage is worse than my marriage. Oh, welcome to this story. Ready? I know that you are a woman, beautiful in appearance. What a great start. Basically, Abram tells his wife, you're hot. You are a beautiful woman, and he's building her up. You're a woman of beauty, and no one can deny that you are a beautiful woman. Imagine you're Sarai going, oh my God, Abram, this is the reason I married you, son. But then he goes on. I know that you're a woman, beautiful in appearance, and when the Egyptians see you, they will say, this is his wife. Then they will kill me, but will let you live. Say you are my sister. Circle sister. Do you see how this marriage is going right now? Say that you are my sister, that it may go well with me because of you, and that my life will be spared for your sake. When Abram entered Egypt, the Egyptians saw that the woman was very beautiful. And when the princes of the Pharaoh saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh. So word gets back to Pharaoh that there's a new guy in town, and we got to check out the woman that's with him and see what their relationship is, because she's beautiful. And when the princes of the Pharaoh saw her, they praised her to Pharaoh, and the woman was taken into Pharaoh's house. And for her sake, the Pharaoh dealt well with Abram. He had sheep and oxen, male donkeys, male servants, female donkeys, and camels. Verse 17, but the Lord, circle Lord, the Lord afflicted Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Abram's wife, circle wife. So Pharaoh called Abram and said to him, what is this you've done to me? Why did you not tell me she was your wife? Why did you say, she's my sister, so that I took her as my wife? Now then, Here is your wife. Take her and go. And Pharaoh gave his men orders concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all he had. Oh boy. You want to talk about some marital counseling issues? Ready? Here we go. In our first week with Disrupted, how is Abraham's life disrupted? And what can we learn from it? Take your notes out. You should have them in your bulletin. If you did not get a bulletin, that guy in the white shirt right there is going to hook you up. So just put your hand up, and he'll wander around and give you a bulletin. My notes are inside. Number one is this. Abraham is told to go. Number one, Abraham is told to go. Abraham was born about 2100 BC, so about 4,000 years ago. Abraham existed about 2,000 years before Jesus, which is about the same time frame as us when Jesus lived. So think about how far back that is. Abraham was born about 2100 BC in the city-state of in Mesopotamia, which is about 200 miles south of modern Baghdad in Iraq. So if you've been in our military and you've gone over to Iraq, we had some wars in Baghdad. We had wars around Baghdad, like in Fallujah. And so if you've ever been to Baghdad, that was very near where Abram started his life. Here in he married Sarah and settled down to raise a family. But after the death of Abraham's brother, Haran, their father, Terah, set the clan out to head to Canaan. So everybody pay attention. Ready? Abraham has a dad named Terah, has a brother named Haran. They're all living in modern day Iraq. So when you think of Abraham, think of an Iraqi. Skin color, facial features, that's who Abraham was. Abraham was basically an ancient Iraqi living in Mesopotamia. So this family unit now, Terah, the patriarch says, I'm going to bring the whole clan and we're going to go to Canaan, which is modern day Israel. They go from Mesopotamia in Iraq all the way up the Euphrates River, and then they're going to head down the Euphrates River or turn from the Euphrates River down into Israel along the Mediterranean Sea. That's the journey. It's hundreds of miles. Terah sets out with all his people, including Abraham and his family and Sarah, and they're heading out. When they get to a city called Haran, they don't head down to Canaan. They stay there. Terah wants to stay there for some unknown reason. They don't finish the journey. They stay in a city halfway there. But after the death of Abraham's brother Haran, their father Terah sets the clan out for Canaan. Going north along the Euphrates River, they stopped halfway, though, and settled in the city of Haran. And here's our first principle. Sometimes your plans are affected by other people's decisions. Can anybody say amen to that? We are literally sitting outside because of someone else's decision in our life. Our governor said, hey, here's how we have to be safe. And whether you agree with it or not, we are now sitting outside literally because somebody else's decision in Sacramento has affected my life, which has affected your life. We are literally sitting under tents because somebody else has affected our decision making. So watch, everybody pay attention. Listen to me. In your life, other people will affect your decision making. An employer, a pastor, a president, a governor, a police officer, whoever in your life is going to affect your decisions. They're going to affect your life. And here's my thing. It's not that your life won't be affected by others. It's going to be affected. The issue isn't, am I affected by other people's decisions? The issue is, am I going to continue to follow God when other people make decisions for me? The issue isn't, are people going to affect my life? They are going to affect your life. It's literally happening right now in front of your face. The issue is, am I going to continue to follow God when things don't go my way? Somebody else makes a decision I don't agree with. Am I going to continue to follow God, or am I going to get mad and angry and start making my own decisions? Am I going to pursue God? Am I going to pursue my own anger? Am I going to pursue God? Am I going to pursue my own decision making? Those are the decisions you and I get to make. Because sometimes other people make decisions for us. And that's what happens here. Abraham he's happy in He has a wife. They're trying to build a family. But all of a sudden, the patriarch, his dad goes, hey, we're all going to Canaan. He's like, why do I want to go to Canaan? I'm happy here in But he goes with his dad, and he brings everybody. It's probably hundreds of people. It was a massive clan that headed towards Canaan. But they don't make it to Canaan. They stop halfway because Terah wants to stay there for some unknown reason. After living in Haran for years, Terah dies, And God called Abraham then to go finish the journey to Canaan. So watch. Terah dies. So think about Abraham's disruption in his life. Hey, I'm happy here in Ur. Dad goes, nope, we're leaving. Okay. And Sarah, we're leaving. And everybody gets up and goes to Haran, which they weren't planning on going to, but they go there and settle there. And then Abraham's like, I thought we were going to Canaan. And now for years, Abraham's in a city he didn't even want to be in, but then his dad dies. Terah dies, and they bury him in a foreign land. So now imagine the disruption that's in Abraham's life. I'm in a city I don't want to be in. My dad dies. And now God's going to appear to him and tell him, finish the journey to Canaan, modern day Israel. Go south to Canaan, because that's a land I'm going to give your descendants, the Jews, the Israelites after you. Not knowing exactly where he was going, Abraham in faith went with his wife, his servants, his nephew Lot, hundreds of miles south to Canaan. Ready? Here's our principle. The blessing of God often overflows from men of God to others. Go with people of God who are going where God is going. Ready? Let me speak into your life. You have to go with people of God. Here's what I mean by that. All y'all that are going to move to Texas. All y'all. I'm going to speak to all y'all for a second. Ready? Listen to me. When you allow circumstances to dictate your decision making, rather than letting godly people speak into your life, immediately, here's the problem, is when you allow finances or politics or stress levels or family issues or whatever. When you make a laundry list of like, here's the reason I'm making this decision to go move to this place or wherever it is, whatever your decision is, what you realize is that you come up with a bunch of things of why you need to move, and not one of them deals with God. You haven't asked godly counsel. You didn't ask for help from anybody that's following God. When you have a decision to make, who you date, who you marry, what job you take, where you move. The worst thing you can do is go, you know what? I can make this call on my own. Because, ready? Let me break something down for you. Everybody pay attention. I know it's hot. Listen to me. We live in a culture of autonomy, which means I'm by myself. We live in a culture of arrogance, which means you can't tell me what to do. We live in a culture of pride, which says I'm going to make all the calls I need to in my own life. We live in a culture of automatic garage door openers, which is we don't even know who our stinking neighbors are, and we live next to them for 15 years. You want to know why we don't know who our neighbors are? It's because we go up to our garage and go, and we try not to pay attention to our neighbors, and we pull in the driveway, and the garage door closes, and we live these like insulated lives. We don't want people speaking into our lives. We don't even want to touch people. We just want people to leave us alone. Like, man, just let me live my life. Well, guess what? That's one of the worst things about our culture is we don't live in community. We live in isolation going, I know what's better for my life. I don't want you to speak into my life. Because honestly, we know that somebody might speak into our life and we don't like it. We might know we're doing something wrong. And we don't want to hear from other people because they go, man, you're being stupid. So we like our isolation because it fuels our pride and our arrogance to go, I know best for me. But guess what? For most cultures, for most of history, they lived in clans, which means your whole family lived together and even extended family lived close to one another. So if you grew up in a Hispanic household or in a Mexican household, a lot of family members, a lot of family units can live together in one place. If you grew up in Filipino culture or other Asian cultures, to this day, many family units still live, in one house or close to one another. Like that's what's happening here in Genesis 12. A whole clan is moving together. So you're not just making a decision based on your own wisdom, you're making a decision based with everybody else. And that's what I'm saying. You need to go where God's going. If God wants you to go, then you go. But if God doesn't want you to go and you go, you're asking for a train wreck. And Abraham's going to learn that lesson in our next point. Because God told him, go to Canaan. And Abraham was like, okay, I'll go. Because God told him to go, God blessed him. So God gave him wisdom. He told his whole family. The whole clan goes, his nephew, his wife, everybody goes down into Canaan. When you go with men of God, where God is going, you know that God is with you and God will bless you. When you make your own call and you take no input from godly men or women, and you just go, I'm going to go do my own thing. I'm going to go move wherever I want to move for whatever decision you make. I can guarantee you, you're asking for a train wreck. Ready? Let me speak into your lives, men. Hey, men, pay attention. I know you're thinking about the Vikings winning the Super Bowl, which is godly, but I need you to pay attention for a second. Ready? You're the leader of your home. Your family goes where you go, son. It's not who's the leader, me or my wife. We already know who the leader is. The leader is you. The issue isn't who's the leader. The issue is how good of a leader are you? Because many of us as men have been yanking our family all over creation. And our family's been like waiting for us to like settle down and be responsible and like feed into our family's life spiritually, financially, whatever it is. And Abraham here is going to make a call that's horrendous. He makes a good first call. He's going with God. But he makes a horrible second call. And this speaks into all of our lives as men. Think about it. I can guarantee you, you grew up in a place that some male in your past line moved there. And your whole family life was changed because some patriarch in your past moved to that area. Many of us are in Temecula because dad got a job here, or dad wanted to live, wherever, blah, 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 or you moved closer to family or whatever. Many of us are here because usually some dad made a call. I did. I'm here because I told my wife at some point in our discussions, we're leaving Pomona, P-Town, where you at? And we're moving to Temecula, which I'd never been in. I didn't know one soul. And you know what? My wife trusted me. And my son now, his memories, I changed the course of his whole life because I made a call to come here. But I knew God was guiding me here. I left what was going really good where I was at for no reason to come here physically. And now I'm in tents outside. What? Right? So the point I'm making is all of my son's memories now of his childhood are here in Temecula. Why? Because I made that call. I literally changed the course of my son's life. So men, my encouragement to you is this: lead well, lead with love, lead your family, because God will bless your family through you, through your godly decisions. You make bad decisions, you will hurt your family. And Abraham's going to make one of those right now. Number one, Abraham's told to go. There will be times God says go. Probably not to Texas, but he will say go to the orchard all the time. Leads us to number two. Ready? Abraham is afraid to lose his life. Here we go. Abraham now is going to make a call, and we're going to see how it plays out for him. In Canaan, modern day Israel, though he had no child of his own, it's just him and Sarah, and he's like 75 years old, God promised that his descendants, Israel, would eventually occupy the land. Years later, Abraham took his clan to Egypt, way south, for food because of a famine. While there, Abraham became afraid he would be killed by the Pharaoh because of his beautiful wife. So watch this. Here's our principle. Sometimes circumstances can look like God's will, but presumption can lead to disaster. Woo! Let me speak to it. Pay attention. Many times circumstances look like this is God's will. And you know what circumstances look like in your life? It's this. Dude, my job's not going well here, but there's a sweet job in Oklahoma. I can make 3 times as much and it's cheaper living. Oh, and the crime's less or whatever. And you start compiling a list. And you know what? You know what's sad is you get to the end of that list and not one of them deals with God. But you've made a circumstantial list, which is like a whole bunch of things that you might like about where you want to go or what you want to do or whatever. So you make a list and you go, what's our positives and negatives? And you lay it all out. What's the yays and the nays? You know the problem is that you have a bunch of yays for yourself, but God said nay. But you still make the call and go, but this is the way to go. Let me tell you something. You know what the horrible call you'll make in your life is to go where circumstances look like they're going, but God's not coming with you. You know what Abraham should have done? He's on the border of Egypt. Watch what happens. Ready? God says, go to Canaan. He obeys God. He plants himself in Canaan. God blesses him. A famine comes though. There's no grass, or the grass for his animals is running out. He goes, you know what? I heard there's food in Egypt. Doesn't consult God, moves his whole family south, and at the border of Egypt, he has this conversation with his wife. Hey, so you're kind of hot. Thanks, baby. Gosh, you haven't said those words to me for 58 years. Thank you. Well, here's the reason I'm telling you that, though. Imagine this pillow talk. They're on the border of Canaan. They're laying down in their tent together. You know, husbands and wives talk late at night, just about like you have, you know, like, oh, we're running out of money, or maybe we should move, or blah, 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 blah. The kids live in blah, 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 blah. Whatever your conversations are. You know, he's laying down in the tent going, he's having this conversation with his wife. Hey, we're heading into Egypt. And you're smoking hot, still at 70. Which, wow. Come on, Sarah, let's go. Right? So he goes, here's the deal, though. The reason I'm telling you that is because other people are going to see that, and they're going to want to kill me because you're so smoking hot. And I don't want to die. So let's do this. Say you're my sister so that I don't die. Ready? Can you see the dysfunction family junction that's happening right here? It's happening. Now watch. Circumstances look like, let's go to Egypt. Must be where God's telling us to go, but God isn't telling him to go there. And now he has to make up things to cover himself because the blessing of God is not on him in Egypt. Sometimes circumstances can look like God's will. Hey, all my friends are going. Hey, everything, you know, blah, 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 blah. But God is not going with you. The worst thing you can do is make a call and start a journey that God's not with you on. So it could be other people are called there. Other people could have been called to Egypt. There could have been a whole bunch of other families going to Egypt, and Abraham's watching all these clans go down to Egypt, and he goes, maybe I should go there. Listen, God might call other people to go. That doesn't mean he's called you to go, even if you know them, even if that's your own family. Even if some of Abraham's other family was called to go to Egypt, that doesn't mean Abraham's supposed to go. Ready? Never allow family situations or financial situations or job or whatever to take your eyes off of God. Because you can do without a certain amount of money. You can do without a certain amount of relationships. You can't do without God. When the blessing of God leaves your life, it's the worst day ever. Like, I can't wait for this. We've continued to grow even in COVID land, which is insane. Some churches aren't even open. They haven't even been open for like a year. And so now, God closed our door to the Target shopping center. I've been working on that job. I've been working on that deal for 10 months. I had architecture plans drawn up. We were ready to go over there. The owners of that spot were like, hey, we can't get Target to sign off on your usage to be a church in the retail center. We can't get them to sign off on it. 10 months later. And I'm finally like, Target will never sign off on it. For whatever reason, they don't want a church in there. So whatever with them. We're literally going to bring thousands of people to their shopping center, but they'd rather have no people than have a church there. So I was like, God, where do you want us to go? So God opens this door just a few miles from here. Beautiful. Right on the freeway. Just amazing. Out of nowhere, like a miracle. You know what? I can't wait for this. Is the day I tell you, hey guys, we're going. I can't wait for this. Oh. Where is it? It's like, just a few miles from here. Oh my God. Gosh. Oh, it's so far, so much further. Dude, you drive to San Diego every day, son. Oh, I know, but it's like a mile further. Wait, are you going to follow where God's going? I didn't choose the place. I tried to make another place happen. But I'm going to go where God's going, wherever that is, because I don't want to stay here and have God leave. I don't know if you've ever been in a church where Jesus left the building. And that's a trick. There's nothing worse than being in a church that doesn't have the blessing and the anointing of God on it. Because then it's just a building with no God. It's just a social club. And that's horrendous for a church. Some of us, I remember walking in some churches that we had been at 5, 10, 15 years as a kid. And I just remember there's the horrible day you'll sit down at church and you realize, a realization will come over you, go, literally, I don't think the Spirit of God is here. Like, we sing songs and do stuff like church things, but I think God has left the building. It doesn't matter if your church is 20,000 or 20. When Jesus leaves the building, it's the worst day ever. And I just can't wait for those complaints. I can't wait for it. Oh, we're not going. Why aren't you guys going? Because this is holy ground. Dude, no, holy ground is where God goes. Dirt is just dirt. Buildings are just buildings. Where it's God that makes a difference. You know what? Because people of God get excited about doing the things of God. People that don't have God in their life, they use an excuse for everything to not go do it. Oh, it's too far, I can't, that's not my thing, or blah, blah, blah. Or I don't like the whatevers. Listen, people that don't love God will make an excuse. People that love God will make it happen. And that was free. I didn't even say that in the first service. Here we go. Ready? Number one, Abraham is told to go. Go to Canaan. He does. He obeys. But number two is this. Abraham is afraid to lose his life because he's making a call to take his family where God did not guide him. Which leads us lastly to number three. Abraham is not afraid to lose his wife. So Abraham's afraid to lose his life, but he's not afraid to lose his wife. So you want to talk about some dysfunctional leadership of the home. Abraham is your boy. Look at this. As Sarah was Abraham's half-sister, so watch this. Sarah, his wife, was his true half-sister. Terah had another wife, and she was Terah's daughter by another woman. So Abraham and Sarah, which happens throughout most of ancient history, you married in your clan, so it's not weird 4,000 years ago. So it's true that Sarah actually was his sister, but the thing was, she was actually his full wife. As Sarah was Abraham's sister, he devised a lie saying she was his sister to keep himself alive. While this was half true, that it was his sister, it was a full lie because she was his wife regardless of their relationship. This ruse worked until Sarah ends up in Pharaoh's harem. How tragic to watch his bride ride away with other men. He had saved his own life, but lost his love. Wow. This is the father of our faith, and he's a total tool bag. So you know what this speaks to? Listen to me. You know what this speaks to? This speaks to the fact that godly people can make horrible decisions. When you don't incorporate God, you'll use your own wisdom, and that's a train wreck waiting to happen. That's why you go with godly people. Wherever godly people are going, go with them. If you don't know what that is, get godly input and get godly people to speak into your life so that you don't make a bad decision. Listen to me. Hey, single ladies, all the single ladies, all you single young ladies, listen to me. Or if you're listening to me online, look in your pastor's eyes. Look up from Instagram for a second. Look at me. Ready? Pay attention to me. I'm going to speak some wisdom into your life, ladies. There are guys in your life that you need to cut out of your life. There are men you need to say, hasta luego, la vista fiesta, to. Goodbye. Let's choose a Spanish word and just tell them get out. Ready? Because here's the reason I tell that to you. Ready? You have not incorporated godly wisdom from your parents or a pastor or any other lady speaking into your life, and you are choosing poorly. But he's so good looking in those pants. I don't care what he looks like in pants. I care where his heart's at. Because here's, ready? The man you choose will lead your home. Like it or not, the man you choose will lead your home. And if he doesn't have God's heart in him, he will lead you and your family away from God. As much as you try to pull him, it's that famous thing of like nagging your husband to go to church. You don't want to spend the rest of your life wishing your husband was following God. So ladies, my encouragement to you is this. If you're single and you're in the dating mode or whatever you're into or you're going to be in the future, choose a man of God. A man who actually is going with God, because then he will lead your family toward God, not away from God. And men, don't just choose her because she's hot. I leave you with that. Ready? Here we go. Here's our principle. Abraham's foolishness put God's plan for him in jeopardy. Don't allow circumstances or feelings involving family, economics, politics, societal, or safety even to disrupt your focus on God. Hey, you don't move your family just because money's better somewhere else. If God's leading you, then go. But you don't allow circumstances to tell you what to do. You allow God to tell you what to do. God sometimes will use circumstances, but don't mistake the two of them. Circumstances are not God. He should have stayed in Canaan and let God bless him and protect him. until God told him to go to Egypt, but he didn't. So either watch this. You'll either make a call and go to a location you're not supposed to go to, or you go too early and God's not with you. He should have stayed in Canaan and waited on God's direction or blessing where he was at. Stress-based decisions are notoriously bad. Practice in calm times what your stress reaction will be. Ready? I'm going to give you some practical life lessons. You will not make a godly decision in times of stress if you're not making godly decisions in times of calm. And that's the reason I tell you, when things are going good, money's good, relationships are good, blah, 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 you should be continually seeking Jesus. Because the habits you make are the habits you will practice in stress. So when you practice calm, seeking of Jesus, when you're stressed out and money's bad and your marriage is falling apart and your kids aren't doing the right thing and, the governor tells us, hey, put on a spacesuit to go to church or whatever, and everything, just our society's in chaos and everything's right in your face and you don't know who to trust and whatever, listen to me. Those are the times, because you've habitually put it in your mind and your heart to serve God and to chase God. In times of stress, you will naturally chase Jesus. You will not naturally chase Jesus if you haven't built up the habit to chase Jesus when you're in calm. The habits you make are the habits you will practice. The habits you make when you're calm are the habits you will practice in stress. Abraham here goes, there's a famine, we got to get out of here. And he makes the worst call possible. God then stepped in and saved the purity of Sarah and protected his promise. Yet Abraham would make the same bad decision again years later. Oh man, I wish I had time because you're all melting, but I won't go there. Genesis 20, watch this. Everybody pay attention, I'm almost done. Look at me. You think Abraham learned his lesson. Wow. Abraham learned his lesson. Here's a guy sharp as a whip. Imagine, he's been married to her probably 50 years. He's 75 years old. He probably got married when he was 15, 16, 18 years old. This isn't like, oh, I just found a wife somewhere. I don't even hardly know who you are. This is old school marriage. And in Egypt, he goes, oh, babe, I'm going to need you to lie. And she's like, you want me to lie? What if I end up in a dude's harem? Oh, but I might die. Okay. And he watches his wife ride away with some Pharaoh's goons. And imagine, he lays on his pillow at night looking at an empty side of the bed where she used to be thinking, oh, but at least I'm safe. What a loser. And so you think, oh, I learned my lesson. Because Pharaoh comes to Abraham, God has to step in and start cursing Pharaoh's home. Pharaoh gets to the point where he's like, what just happened here? And he goes to Abraham. Imagine a godless Pharaoh rebuking a prophet of God. He goes, are you kidding me? I almost slept with your wife. Like, you almost made me an adulterer, and I didn't even know. Are you kidding? What's wrong with you? I mean, imagine the Pharaoh who doesn't even know the true God telling a prophet of God, why are you such a loser? You almost made me a loser. And then you know what? You think, okay, whoa. Because God has to be the man of the house. Abraham's a total loser. God has to step in as the man of the house and go, you're not going to sleep with that guy's wife. And Pharaoh goes, okay, well, I didn't even know. She was some dude's wife. And he gives Abraham back his wife, going, hey, whoa, we're all good. Let God take these curses off my home. So Abraham's like, whew. And you know what? Years later, he does the same thing in Genesis 20. Abimelech, who's the next king, sees his wife, who's actually older now, but still good looking. And he goes, Abraham, who's this lady? She's my sister. And Sarah's like, seriously again? And she ends up in another guy's harem. And God has to step in again. And this time he speaks to Abimelech in a dream. He goes, I want you to know you're dead. And Abimelech in the dream is going, what do you mean I'm dead? He goes, you have another guy's wife. You commit adultery, I'm going to kill you. And I'm going to kill everybody around you. And Abimelech's like, what are you talking about? The dude said she was his sister. Well, she's actually his wife. So if you don't give her back, you're dead by the morning. And it says it in Genesis 20, he goes, he woke up early in the morning. And he told all his guys, like, dude, give this guy his wife back. Abimelech goes to Abraham, godless, atheistic Abimelech. He goes, you have done what should never be done. You almost made me commit a sin. I don't even believe in your God. So Abraham twice made the same bad decision. You know why he made it? Because stress opened the doorway to bad decisions rather than seeking God. We all do it. But my encouragement to you today is this. In stress, in dysfunction, when you have anxiety, always seek Jesus and godly counsel so that you don't make a bad call. Because I want your life to be blessed. And the way of blessing is obedience based on godly decisions. Our last principle is this: disappointment and disruption in our lives are God's tools to expose ungodliness in our hearts. Ready? Everybody look at me, I'm done. You want to know what the mud is sitting at the bottom of your heart? You don't know what it is until a storm churns it up. And the stress levels of life will churn up the deep mud in your heart. And you get to see who you really are. Because we really don't know who we are until stress situations happen in our lives. And then we either follow God or we follow our own wisdom. So watch. Disappointments and disruptions aren't bad always. They're good because it distills what's true in our heart. So my encouragement to you today is there's a lot to admire about Abraham. Our story today, don't admire that. Because literally Jesus came from the lineage of Abraham, physically. So there's a lot to admire about Abraham. But one of his worst things is when he got disrupted in his life, he defaulted back to himself and protecting himself rather than seeking God. Godly people do bad things. My encouragement to you is don't do that thing. Keep seeking Jesus and he will bless you. Keep seeking Jesus and he will bless you.